Hello and welcome to Neutral Wrestling. Breaking news from the wrestling world. WWE have released a number of talents and producers with the ongoing situation with COVID-19 coronavirus. I'm going to put you straight over to Dan. He's going to go through a list of, to the moment, which is now about 8:30 on Wednesday evening, who has been released and what the story is. Dan?
Yeah, so basically about an hour and a half ago, it started coming out. WWE announced they'd released a few wrestlers, and then since then they've been releasing more and more. So I'm not sure why they weren't all released at once. But the list of the wrestlers that we've got thus far, we've got Epico, Eric Rowan, Sarah Logan, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, EC3, Drake Maverick, Kurt Hawkins, Heath Slater, Eric Young, Leo Rush. Producers, we've got Hall of Famer Kurt Angle, never knew he was still employed, but apparently so. Billy Kidman, Mike Rotunda, Pat Buck, Fit Finlay, Sean Daivari, Scott Armstrong, Sarah Stock, Shane Helms, Lance Storm, who recently closed his wrestling school. Announcers or managers wise, we've got Aiden English, and one for me, which I was shocked, Mike Chioda, who's been with the company since the early 90s. But yeah, I just added to that, we've got Mike Kanellis, a man who's been, well, if you remember last summer, he was asking for his release. Then him and Maria randomly signed a new big money contract. Then he requested for his release again after the whole angle with Maria, where they were basically, I don't know, what was he like, not the father to the child. He then requested his release again. That was turned down, and now he's just been released. Oh, it completely took us by surprise, all this, Danny. We were not expecting this. Obviously, WWE I can't remember the last times, if ever, as many WWE wrestlers have been released in the same day. I'm sure many of you at this point have seen the video from Drake Maverick, Spud for people, UK wrestling fans. It was, I don't know, quite an emotional video. I think that's thousands upon thousands of retweets of that video. He looked absolutely distraught by the news. Spud has always said it's been his dream job to be employed by WWE. We've seen the guy piss himself live on pay-per-view to do things just to basically be on WWE TV. But Danny, this comes as an absolute shock. As I say, as we're going on, stuff could be happening as we're going on. We just wanted to get some audio out there for our listeners. So yeah, over to you, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking through things now. I've been trying to process the last financial report because Dave Meltzer had put a quote, and not just Dave Meltzer, quite a few journalists saying that out of all the wrestling, boxing, and MMA promotions out there, so comparable viewing, that WWE was the most well-placed in terms of no debt. They had resources in the bank. Financially, they were the ones best set to cope with this. Then we see another tweet. I think it was from Sean Ross, or is it Sean Sapp, who'd said that another respected wrestling journalist who'd come out and said that WWE are doing this despite talent only making up about 10% of the revenue, of the annual revenue. Now, the only revenue that I can get my hands on is from 2018, but we have projected staff costs for 2019. Now, in 2018, the year ending 2018, WWE actually made revenues of 935 million. Just let me make sure. Yeah, 965. Sorry, I do apologize. And they have forecasted staffing costs, which look to include NXT and everything, because there's been a major jump from 2018 and 2017 to, all in all, 75 million of that now. So it's less than 10%. That stat actually stands up. So it's surprising that they've cut the number of people that they have. And I don't know whether this has come as a snap reaction. I'm just looking at WWE's timeline on Twitter, and 3 hours ago, they put up a video with Mike Rotunda, the former IRS who has since been released. And it's like a jokey interview from the bump where did WWE stars ever come to you for tax advice? Not the kind of thing you put up if you knew you were going to fire somebody 3 hours later. It's all a bit up in the air, and we're all still digesting this a little bit. So at the moment, it looks like a very, very cautious approach from WWE.
Yeah, it's just, to me, I know I could be completely... Vince is just... I don't know. For people, I mean, I've been reading tweets on Twitter. People have been... Yeah, I'm sure if you're one of the people who've been giving me abuse for the tweets, that's completely fine. You're welcome to your own opinion. But I've seen tweets such as, it's necessity for the sheer existence of the company. A well-known podcaster has said that. That is the biggest load of bollocks I've read all day. Necessity for the sheer existence of the company. So are people trying to say that this company will go out of business without these releases? I mean, I do respect the podcaster who, well, in some way he was put that, but that is the biggest load of bollocks I have heard all day. This company is going to be fine. If you added the combined number of wages that they're going to save from the people who've been released today, will that even make up one Saudi show? No. Will it shite? It's... To me, I don't know. Is it Vince McMahon just throwing all his toys out the pram? We know how desperate he wanted this XFL to work this time. Desperate. It's clearly something that's played on his mind for the last 20 years, and he's probably devastated that it actually was going okay, and yet again, something out of his control, because let's be honest, the guy is a complete control freak. Something out of his control has come along, and it's just, bang, wiped it out, and he's had no choice but to bankrupt. So he's probably not in the best mood this week, and I don't know, what has he done? He's basically, as we spoke on the previous show, well, that's not been uploaded yet due to this one, but we were saying that, like, he's just basically said, right, we're going live, none of this tape stuff, we're going live. He's just not having anything mess with his wrestling by the sounds of it. So for all the people who were happy that Vince maybe had his mind taken off wrestling with this XFL thing, well, he's back stronger than ever, being as big a dick than ever. For me, I just think it's completely... Some people, we've seen stuff, Danny, on Twitter, people saying, oh, some of the people, I think I saw Sean Ross Sapp saying most of the people who've been released have been asking for the release. Well, if you watch the Drake Maverick video, that does not look like a guy who was asked for his release, but... I don't know. I feel sorry for some of these people. Do you know what I mean? At the time, do you know what I mean? The time where you want... There's people out there, Danny, who are getting sacked, laid off, do you know what I mean, who have to be. Do you know what I mean? It's hard decisions for business owners who don't have a choice. Vince McMahon has a choice, and he's chosen, as he showed all week long, he doesn't give a shit about his employers, didn't give a shit about Roman Reigns, didn't give a shit about having people fly in and out of Orlando, out of Florida, to tape TV, being away from the families, just because he wanted it to be live. He doesn't give a shit, and he's just shown that even more tonight.
Yeah, it's tough to digest all at once, and I'm sure people will understand what we're saying now is just from the information we've been provided. But looking at it, looking through Twitter now, and I'm seeing Hurricane Helms, one of the producers, has been released, has said that this looks like it is just a temporary situation for them. Now that might, I heard before it was, you know, it is just for the producers. They might be coming back, not necessarily the wrestlers. The other thing to consider is WWE used to do this once every 2 or 3 years. I think the last one was known as Black Thursday, when they let a load of people go, and they seem to do it in a spurt. They let a load of people go at once. Now, this could just be bad timing in terms of they've got the perfect excuse now, because rather than having to listen to all the shit with all these people being released, they've got the perfect thing to blame it on. It's the coronavirus, when it might not have been. They may be using this as a smokescreen. We don't know. I mean, I certainly don't know what the law is over in America in relation to furloughed workers, and also the fact that these are in a very strange situation in terms of employment, because they are independent contractors who are exclusive to one company. There is talk that financial payments are being made, but if this is something that they are saying is to do with the ongoing situation, it does seem a bit hard to swallow. The other thing as well is these aren't the high earners. These are the very, very lowest of the talent side of the earners. So I don't know. I don't know why.
I wonder how much they're paying Gronk. I wonder how much they're paying Gronk. You know, this guy that they've like signed or whatever. I wonder how much they're paying him. I wonder if they're paying. You know what I mean? Him. I just breaking news by the way. Zack Ryder been with WWE since what? 2006, 2007. He's just been released. So 15 years of service. Never mind. See you later, Zach. Bye. You're gone. 15 years of loyalty. 15 years of showing up to work every week. Never really receiving a push apart from his own push that he basically got by his own creativity on YouTube. Yeah, Zack Ryder has been released. So yeah, it's just correct, Danny. For me, right? This guy has literally trapped wrestlers who've been begging for the release for the last year, 18 months, even before that. We've seen Rey Mysterio was forced against his will. Daniel Bryan even, maybe. But he's been forcing people to stay with this company for God knows how long. He's been extending contracts out of sheer pettiness. And now he's not getting his own way. He's not happy with what's going on. He's like, right, do one. I find it a bit bizarre, really, that he's letting everyone go.
Well, I was watching a interview last night with Dana White, president of the UFC, and they were doing a tour of his office with Barstool Sports. And Barstool Sports basically said to him, he showed them the roster and this big like room full of whiteboards, and he said, "Do you keep MMA fighters on just to stop them from going to the competition?" And he was kind of like, no, not at all. Totally denied it. But we've spoke about this before in terms of what WWE have done. If they have done that, which we think that they have, just signed people or extended contracts due to injury, stroke not wanting to let them out of it, this is the perfect time to release them. And for the likes of New Japan and for the likes of AEW and to a lesser extent Ring of Honor to pick them up and have that surprise moment, that moment the fans aren't expecting, because by the time everyone gets back to work, when everyone starts running shows, everyone will know who will have signed for who and, you know, where they're going, and it won't be that excitement of waiting to see somebody, because you'll be waiting to see everyone. Do you know what I mean? When the next New Japan show comes back, it won't be like, oh, Gallows and Anderson are back. The Bullet Club is going to come stronger than ever. It's going to rise from this mediocrity that it's had for the last year. And that's not going to be people will tune in to see the show. Of course they will, but they will be the normal viewers. They won't be the people who are, you know, the big signings coming over the ex-WWE. So from a business point of view, from what Vince McMahon is thinking, it's a perfect time to let them go on that front too. It's
No Way Jose just been released. Oh, bless him. He basically, when we was sat watching Raw that Monday night in New Orleans after WrestleMania, I had the worst hangover. And I remember No Way Jose's music was going on and on. And then they went to the commercial. I thought I'd finished with it. And then as soon as the commercial back, No Way Jose. Oh, bless him. He's gone as well. But I tell you what, Danny, independent wrestling is going to be interesting when it comes back, because these guys they're going to need to work, aren't they, when they get back? Because AEW aren't going to take on people like, oh well, AEW, like we're talking in our group chat, AEW's mid card's going to be a lot healthier. AEW aren't going to be like going out there trying to sign all these guys. These guys are going to be, like you say, they could be showing up anywhere. Like, I mean, for all we know, independent wrestling companies might not be able to afford them with everything that's going on, but I don't know. It's just crazy what's going on.
That's the other thing as well. The state of the independents now. You look at what this is. This is how WWE are reacting to it, rightly or wrongly. This is how WWE are reacting to this worldwide pandemic. There's going to be a lot of indies. I mean, like Progress, probably one of the super indies. they're asking people, fans, we need you to go out and buy merchandise. We need help in being supported. If that's Progress, who have actually been quite well from a financial point of view, have been very well run. The likes of Rev Pro, the two biggest indies in Britain, are asking for help. We don't know how long this is going to go on for. Is there going to be the indies there to actually go to when this happens? We don't know. What has happened is that over the course of the last hour, the WWE stock price has gone up by 2% since the news of the releases has hit, which is expected in most companies. If they look to make savings like this, the stock price will go up, as long as they're not firing everyone, sort of thing. They're making savings. They're looking to slash expenditure. It's an odd situation. We're living in odd times, but as I say, if these people come out, where are they going to go? I only know about the indies in the UK. I don't know what the likes of AAW are doing in the States. I don't know how Evolve is. Ring of Honor will be fine because of who owns it. But who knows what's going to be left of the wrestling landscape outside of WWE, AEW, and Ring of Honor.
Yeah, it's just crazy, isn't it? I think there'll always be independent wrestling about. It's just, it might not be the companies we're accustomed to. Do you know what I mean? You might have people starting up. There's going to be a lot of wrestling independent companies probably fold on the back of this, unfortunately. Yeah, but that's been happening for years, hasn't it? Do you know what I mean? The amount of UK independents folding.
It has, but think of when Cody got released and he made his list, and PWG's still about, but there was Defiance or what Culture Pro Wrestling as it was at the time, that was strong and that was pulling in crowds of 2,000 on certain shows. There was a lot out there, so he actually said, I made more money on the independents than I did in WWE, but that's probably not going to be an opportunity for these people.
Yeah, I've just seen a tweet, Danny. Someone put, Mike Bennett joined WWE, used him to get himself clean, had 2 babies, and got Vince to pay him $500,000. Absolute legend.
I can't see Vince paying him $500,000.
He signed the contract. I know it was like a year ago or something, but I'm guessing he's been on a pretty decent wage since.
Yeah, he will have been. But as I say, the thing is, these contracts, there will be a clause in them where they will get a certain amount of money. They may be getting 20 cents on the dollar, when they're being released. James Ellsworth has just come on. Getting released from your dream job is one of the hardest things that somebody can emotionally go through. My heart goes out to everyone. I hope and pray everyone has a bright future. This is the thing, I suppose. We as wrestling fans, we love wrestling, and this hurts us a little bit. I mean, you see it and you feel sorry for people. But just imagine if you spent 10 plus years getting to the WWE, and I think that's why all the emotions coming out of Rockstar Spud. I've seen him for 10 plus years on the indies, getting up to TNA, going through the British boot camp, and actually making a name for himself. I mean, the kid, actually, he's never going to be a world beater, but when you put him in a situation, he always performs. The last ride along, it was Maria Kanellis and Mike Bennett. And they're gone. I think this has really been a.
There's going to be more to come as well.
Decision. Well,
there's going to be more to come, I think, as well. There's people I'm just reading on Twitter. It's not actually confirmed yet. People are saying Kairi Sane might have been released, but. Well, I don't know. I'll put a tweet up, Danny. I bet Rusev's sat there waiting for his phone to go. I don't think it will, but
I'm just looking at it now. Who do you think there? I mean, I think I already know my answer, but who do you think is the biggest name to get? I mean, we'll take Kurt Angle aside because he was on a Legends contract, but who's the biggest name on that list so far? If you were AEW or New Japan or Ring of Honor, who would you be looking to pick up?
If I'm AEW, for me, he's not the biggest name on it, but I think Leo Rush is the most talented on that list. I think he had a really good run. But in NXT, after his all main roster, he was good on the main roster. His attitude, or I don't know, what did he not carry water for some idiot or something like that? But he, for me, was great when he was managing Bobby Lashley on the main roster.
He was.
Showed he was great on the microphone. He went back to NXT. And he put on some great matches in some of these Wednesday night wars. He had a great series of matches with Angel Garza. So Leo Rush is, for me, extremely talented. Always been a really big fan of his. It's a situation again. I think he's got 2 little kids. Do you know what I mean? So I wonder how he's going to be. Do you know what I mean? How he's feeling right now. Obviously, if I'm AEW, I'm looking at that. I'm straight. Leo Rush, sign him. But the thing is, they don't need to sign him right away, do they? There's no rush. There's nobody else. Do you know what I mean? Are you going to sign Leo Rush now, or are you going to sign Leo Rush in 4 months? As much as like Tony Khan, he's this good guy. People see him maybe as a saviour of wrestling, but he's a businessman when it comes down to it. Why would you sign some of these guys now when you're pretty sure WWE aren't going to re-sign him? I mean, you look at the list, Epico. For me, Epico... I don't know, Sarah Logan. I mean, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, we spoke about over text. You'd probably say New Japan, but I'd probably think they'll be going from New Japan to AEW. They've worked with most of the guys in AEW. EC3, I don't know.
That's the one for me. EC3, he looks the part, and he can talk, and he's not a bad wrestler. But he's still young as well. He's still got a lot to come.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, one of my favorite teams in wrestling. And I just, especially like part of that Boneyard match was Carl Anderson's and Luke Gallows were instrumental in the way that was shot and putting the Undertaker over.
Yeah,
giving him one of the best matches. Well, let's say the best match he's had in 5 years, maybe. It's strange that it's happened. We don't quite know the reasons. I don't know whether WWE will do a tweet, but they might put something on the corporate site to say why this has been done, because they will want to. Their investors and their shareholders will be like, "Well, why are you releasing these people?" And I'm betting that they're going to just say that it's standard cost cutting, because they have a roster of 240 people.
Yeah, it's like they can get away with it. They've got an excuse, but people who know wrestling, people who know Vince McMahon, they don't have. They do not have to release these wrestlers. Let's get that straight. They do not need to release these wrestlers. It's not a necessity. The company's not anywhere near, in any way, shape, or form, in danger of going bust. They did not need to do this. They chose to do this out of whatever reason, money. They want to save a bit of money. It's not a necessity. Get that right into your heads, people listening. It's not a necessity at all. Danny, they'll have hundreds of millions of dollars in reserve. They've got TV deals for the next few years. $1 million TV deals. They do not need to do this. I really doubt releasing 10 Drake Mavericks is going to save the company. I just can't believe some of the stuff I'm reading on Twitter that's like, oh, I feel sorry for Vince McMahon, feel sorry for WWE. They have to do this. They don't have to do this. They've chosen to do this for whatever reason. But I tell you what, if I'm NXT UK, I'm thinking, do you know what I mean? If these guys are getting released, what's our future looking like? I mean, obviously it's part of their long-term plan or whatever to sort of set up territories across the world. So maybe NXT UK might actually be more safe than, say, some of the lesser talent on the main roster or the lesser perceived talent. But
okay,
if I'm AEW, Danny, I'm getting Mike Chioda in. I am. Well, I mean, it's just like you get JR, it's a voice you recognise, you turn the TV on, you've got a wrestling match on, and you see Mike Chioda, you just recognise him, don't you?
Well, I'm just having a look at this now, and there was on Bloomberg, there was an article, which is one of the financial news websites. This was 10 days ago, saying that Vince McMahon's going to sell WWE shares more, not the ones he sold to to finance Alpha Entertainment and the XFL. He was looking to sell them. Said the deal was up to 85 million, and that was for shares selling at $37.75. Now he's gone up nearly 2% to $39.07 a share. So if you're thinking of 85 million, and 2% of that is what? It's nearly an extra, 1.7 million, is it? It's not chump change. This reaction that he's done, and as I say, it does seem like a snap decision because of the reasons we mentioned before, could have put an extra 1.7 million pounds in his pocket from a deal that was being talked about only last week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether that's the crux of it or not. As I say, we're just responding to this as it happens. But it certainly doesn't seem like they've had to do this.
No, they've not had to do this at all, have they? Do you know what I mean? I was thinking to myself, I thought maybe he's trying to save money that he might lose through not doing a Saudi Arabia show this year. Do you know what I mean? Are they going to be able to fly to Saudi? I mean, they've already done one show, actually, haven't they? So the next one, I'm guessing it'd be like November. It was Halloween this year, so maybe they will be able to, but who could understand the mindset of Vince McMahon? But just crazy. And I mean, I'm reading stuff on Twitter now, people saying that they have been given hefty payouts. But if they've been given hefty payouts, why not just keep them on? But like you say, maybe it is just used as an excuse. They wanted him off the books. But when you see how petty he's been over the last 6 months, maybe he's thinking, well, AEW aren't going to be signing these guys now with the whole way economy is, so we'll get rid of them. But hey, just what a crazy time to be alive.
Yeah, and let's just, I don't know what the situation is here, but let's just say that this is absolutely terrible for the people who are involved in this. And like, I just wish them all the success in the world. And when I'm next going to buy a t-shirt or something, I'll be buying a Gallows and Anderson t-shirt, or I'll be buying a Rockstar Spud t-shirt. It's very little things we can do to help them out, but these are guys that have really worked really fucking hard to get to where they got. And it seems like a bit of, at the moment, it seems very reactionary and a little bit of a shithouse move from WWE.
Yeah, if you're able to protect your own in times like these, then that's what you should do. But no, Vince showed he didn't give a shit about his employees with everything with the XFL, with flying everyone in and out. So it should come as no surprise. But I didn't expect this. If this is a football
team, Everton I think they pay 82% of their revenue is paid to staff salaries, player salaries. Now, obviously, wrestlers aren't on nearly anywhere as much as footballers are, but the average is between 72 to 85, and they say they should keep it below 80. But that's the average, 75% of the revenue and upwards. Just to put it into process, even if you don't have a financial mind, WWE are only paying around 10% of their revenue to talent.
Yeah.
Now there will be back office staff, and there will be other staff that aren't included in that will have to be paid, but the talent is where the big money goes. So if football clubs are paying players,
basketball, NFL, if they can all afford to, do you know what I mean? If they can do it, then
I don't know their financial structures. I know football and I know a little bit about WWE, but I don't know whether it's compatible with basketball and stuff. But if football clubs are doing it, this should not be. I think, I can't remember the last time I looked, but I think WWE was rated around 400 million. The company. Now, when you think the not 400 million, sorry. It was rated at nearly $1 billion last time I looked, because it was when UFC sold for $4 billion, and they reckon WWE was close to $1 billion. So that's what, 2-3 years ago. Now, if you think that Real Madrid are only worth $1 billion as the most expensive football club, and 80% of their revenue at least is going to players, I don't understand it. I don't know why they've done it. As I say, it may just be the standard cuts that they used to make years ago, where they'd let loads of people go at once. It might just be that, but they certainly timed it in a way where they're going to get a lot less flack for it because of what's going on, or that's what they thought anyway.
Yeah, well, it's just a different world, isn't it? Look, over here, we're used to, like, I don't know, like, I think, like, UK fans who are into football would be shocked to see how little the wrestlers get paid. Do you know what I mean? Covering their own expenses and stuff like that. But I used to work at a bookies, Danny, yeah? Right? If I was working in a shop 30 miles away, they would be completely funding my travel there and back, yeah? If it was, like, a long way away, they'd be paying for the hotel or whatever. I wouldn't be going without that. But I don't know, I've just reading that Dave Meltzer probably, like, your best, really, on this sort of subject, if you want for updates. He's basically just said that another wave of non-wrestlers and wrestler releases are coming. So I guess there's going to be more to this story, but I guess we'll be able to talk about that tomorrow, the day after, because Danny, you have to go, don't you? We did this breaking news audio.
Yeah, well, that as I say, thank you for listening. Sorry if it sounds a bit thrown together this evening. We literally have just decided to pull up the microphones and get cracking. But yeah, thank you for listening. Dan, do you want to finish off?
Yeah, I'm saying I knew there was a reason why I didn't go to that girl's house tonight. Anyway, subscribe to the show. Follow us on Twitter at Neutral Res. Danny, your Twitter is what? At DannyNWPod. www.patreon.com/Neutral Wrestling. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We do weekly podcasts every week. So, yeah, subscribe. Hope you're not going to enjoy listening to this, but hope we've sort of give you a little bit of audio to listen to on, probably what will turn out to be one of the biggest days in wrestling of 2020. And there's not even been a match taken place, but hey, that's often the case. So thanks for listening, everyone. See you later. Danny, enjoy TNA.
Cheers, mate.